Well, continuing my travels across this country, we reach our third famous road course in the United States. It was Road America, then it was Watkins Glen, and now it's Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Behind me is the famous Keyhole Corner, which is a very interesting corner because it's half concrete and has half asphalt. And what we've been seeing a lot today has been drivers trying different lines. Some of them run really wide out, almost totally on the asphalt. Some drivers cut along the inside of the corner right next to the curbs. Of course, that means that they're totally on the concrete. So it's interesting to see all of the different ways that drivers have attacked this corner today. So Joseph Newgarden was fastest today. Not really much of a surprise. He's won here several times before. The big key, and something we're going to be talking about throughout this video, really two things: qualifying and strategy. It's an 80-lap race, which more or less means it's going to be pretty much a two-stop race. Now, what we may be hoping for is that there's going to be a big discrepancy between the red and black tires. The times in practice would seem to indicate there's at least a second in between the reds and the blacks. But the question, of course, is going to be whether or not the red tires can kind of maintain that pace. We've also got some more interesting content that I'm going to tease coming later, probably tomorrow morning, which is a silly season update video, but you're not going to be hearing very much from me. You're going to be hearing much more from the drivers themselves, and it's pretty good stuff. There's some interesting lines uttered, and we'll just keep it at that. But it has been, a 2 or 3 week break for IndyCar, and some people have sprouted some interesting facial hair, and one person in particular is Rinus VK, or maybe I should call him Rooster. Well, we're here with Miles Teller from the Top Gun movie. No, wait, no, that's Rinus VK. Rooster. So it is Rooster inspired then.
Yes, it's very Rooster inspired. I walked out of the theater. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. The movie was awesome, and yeah, I was inspired. I think we have to get those directors making an IndyCar movie.
Yes.
Where I'm the Rooster kid, and Maverick's Elio. That would be awesome.
Another person making waves kind of in this little down period in IndyCar was Connor Daly, who has kind of picked up the daily torch, as it were, and has really done a great job as a TV analyst for the CBS Sports SRX coverage. I got to talk to him a little bit about that, and then we kind of went off into the weeds and started talking about fighting. I think this is pretty good. CBS Sports, you're freaking killing it, dude. That is like... You've never done TV before, right?
Well, they handed me a mic once in the pits when I crashed in Texas in 2016, and we had to come back and race like 3 months later, and I was not even in the race. So that was really the last time I guess I did anything. And I'll randomly go up and did some stuff like Indy Lights races back in the day. But yeah, I mean, that's like the first full-on serious gig that I've done. Yeah.
And the SRX series, I've been so impressed with it over the last year and a half. What do you think the secret sauce is? Because, I think you like the tweet. I mean, I haven't been disappointed by a race yet. I mean, it's just a great series.
Well, the funny thing is there are a lot of people that say, oh, well, it's just a show. I mean, yeah, but every race is a show. IndyCar races are a show. But, it's just done a little bit differently. And for me, I never actually, when I'm looking at it and commentating on it, I never actually see it like it's a fake product. I know that these guys are getting really heated and they really want to do well, and they're all really successful drivers. And so do you think any of those guys want to get beat by any of the other people? No, absolutely not. So it's really cool to see how serious those guys take it, and talk to some of the guys that I haven't talked, like Bobby Labonte. I mean, I was he's like, hey man, I'm not sure if you know who I am. I was like, of course I know who you are, Bobby Labonte. Are you kidding me? I was like, I have all your Interstate Batteries cars. It's absurd. It's really cool to talk to those guys, and they're taking it really seriously, and they love doing it. And Greg Biffle and Michael Waltrip, right? I had a couple beers with those guys after the last race. I'm like, these guys are some of the coolest people ever, but they're so heated up about this racing series, and I just think it's done right. Tony's about to punch people. They're all hitting each other. I wish we had more of that in IndyCar. Just get mad at someone. It doesn't matter. Literally get mad at anyone, and that's what people want to see. I Tony gets it. Tony Stewart, I can tell. He gets it. And I love that. You're just honest.
You're putting the expectation on yourself. I want you to go punch somebody at the end of this race.
Yeah, but see, I don't have enough wins to do that. Like Tony can punch anyone. Like if I start winning races, which I hope I obviously do, that's the plan. Then you can be a little bit more vocal, because when you have a problem with drivers now, it's like, well, you're just a mid-pack guy getting mad, and I'm like, well, not really. Like the people we're getting mad at are considered not that. You know what I mean? So I just like I'm always gonna be like, every driver is right in their own mind. You know what I mean? So like, I just wish there was more of an expression of that. Like, we can be mad at each other. Like, Will Power could have punched the face off of Devlin DeFrancesco after Road America. It would have been awesome.
I was in his pit waiting for it.
Guess what would have made SportsCenter? That. And they had seems like they met at a bonfire and roasted marshmallows together, and now everything's fine. Goodness gracious.
So like I said, because it's going to be a strategy-focused race, or at least a race where it's going to be very difficult to pass, I asked the drivers, what is it going to take to get a perfect lap in qualifying? Here's what they had to say.
How do you nail it? Well, I haven't nailed one yet, so I'll let you know whenever I do. But it's such a hard window to get the tires in and to make sure that that window is in that lap. Sometimes you get like half a lap, and then sometimes you get like not the first half of the lap, so it makes it really hard. And I've nailed it in practice, and then I go into qualifying and what the heck happened? So I haven't had the best of experiences here in qualifying. I've had good races starting from the back, but I'm just tired of starting in from the back, man. I want to start within the first 5. That would make my life a lot easier, and the team.
It's huge. It's a track where at first, like this afternoon at Friday, first practice, it feels like ice. But it's a track that takes on the rubber. And every lap it gets better and better and better. So in qualifying, you essentially want to be the last on track. It's risky because if there's a yellow, you lose your lap like I had last year. But if it works, then you're going to transfer in the next round. So that's, qualifying, you'll see between first and 6, it could be a tenth of a second. So it's going to be really tight, and you're going to have to be on your game.
Well, I mean, everything has to be perfect, and it was interesting. I watched the session a couple days ago from last year, and you see guys like Felix Rosenqvist and Pato, they were like, I don't really know where the time was. Like, here you have to get the tire in the perfect window. If the tire is activated, you find like an extra half second that you need. And it's obviously everything is separated by tiny margins. But when you activate the tire, when you get that red into its window of operation, it's very much like what we hear about in Formula One all the time, where they have to get the tire activated. It's very similar to here. Like, you can do 3 laps on the reds and it feels fine. The balance is good, but you're like 8/10 off the pace. Like Felix's interview last year was perfect honesty of kind of how I felt too. I was like, I thought those were good laps. There's just no speed. So you got to figure out how to get the tire in the operating window, and then perfect lap. That's it.
A lot of sand. Got to sand it here. Yeah, really hitting your marks. This track is a lot of corner sacrificing, like giving up one corner to be quick in the other. And I know, it's a lot of it's a rhythm. This track, you gotta get that rhythm and get all the apexes, which for some reason is super hard here.
I don't know, because I didn't last year. We had a really good car, and I think we qualified P7. We were just off fast 6 because I did a mistake. So it's tough. It's a small track, and the tires are amazing for 1 lap, and then they are off. So you need to nail that lap. It's really high speed, so you need to commit a lot, and obviously you need to trust the car. So hopefully I learn how to do it before qualifying, and hopefully we make it happen, because it's true, it's tough to pass, even though we started P7 last year, finished on the podium. So it's possible, it's doable, but it's going to be tough. So hopefully we can make it happen, but I prefer to start P1 and just drive and have clean pit stops and win the race.
Yeah, qualifying lap here is interesting. It's normally one of those where you can't just go out and do a flyer. You kind of need like 3 laps here normally for the tires to get to their peak. I think turn 4, 5, 6, 7 is that's kind of where you can make or break your lap. First of all, if your tires are at the peak you want them to be, it's just going to be free lap time there. And it's a very technical section as well, so you kind of have to nail your lap. Honestly, every corner here is kind of difficult. There's no simple section on Mid-Ohio, so I think honestly, like, if you get the pole here, you're you're doing a pretty damn good job and you're a good driver. That's always been the case here. It's a very, very difficult track, small track, kind of fan favorite in a way. There's always really cool fans coming out here and watching, and even for me, you know, this was the place for my first IndyCar test back in 16. So yeah, to do a good result here would mean a lot.
And finally, the most important thing, the race itself. Strategy, strategy, strategy. How many times do I have to say it? Like I said at the very beginning of this video, it seems like 2 stops is going to be the hard and fast strategy unless there's a lot of caution. Here's what the drivers had to say, and a few who may be thinking a little bit differently than the rest of the field. This race has fluctuated lap-wise and distance-wise. It was like 91 year, it's been 85, now it's 80. It's been 80 for the last couple of years. General consensus, this is a 2-stop race. Is that kind of what you're expecting, and is there any way we could see any kind of variance in strategy?
It's a very good point, David. It's a shame because there's no 3-stop. I mean, you can make the 3-stop work if there's a yellow, of course, a 3-stop, but then you would pit on lap 4. I don't know. It's not short enough or long enough to make a difference on strategy. The biggest difference on strategy is going to be tire choice. You know, which tire you start on. If you want to use reds. So that's going to be interesting to see, obviously, how you can make that happen. It's also a track where passing is very difficult, so you don't want to get shuffled back in the mid-pack because it's going to make your life difficult to get back to the front. So qualifying is really important.
Yeah, I think with the 80 laps, it's going to be a 2-stopper with decent big windows. You know, if you do some fuel saving, you can sort of open up the windows by quite a bit. So that should create some good opportunities to you know, shortcut or you know, do a early pit stop or a later pit stop. So hopefully that would open up the strategy. And as always, if there is some caution periods, that will also, you know, mix things up. So I'm hoping we'll create some good racing. The weather seems to be quite warm and sunny for race day, and that should also create some degradation. I think the tires this year has been degrading a little bit more than last year, for example. And what I usually say with that is that more degradation creates more, you know, better racing, more action on track, because some people are going to do that better than others, and that's going to create some situations where you can overtake. So I'm hoping it will be a good race on Sunday because of it.
Yeah, well, you know, it looks like a 2-stop. That's what's been happening, but you never know. You know, I think at Road America as well, you know, there was quite a lot of yellows in the beginning, and it changed a few things around. But I don't know. You know, I think it's a cool place. I've been pretty successful here in the past. So even my old engineer called me last week saying, you know, that I was in the top 10 the last time I was here. So, you know, I don't know. I just look forward to getting out there, and hopefully we'll be all right. And hopefully the race comes towards us a bit.
When it's an easy 2-stop, as we all know it is, it limits your options. But caution still can fall at an interesting time. And certainly where I've been running at the back of the grid, we can get creative with keeping the car full of fuel, and there might be a way for us to gain some track position. So we'll keep our options open, but I really feel like at this race distance, it's going to be hard to get off strategy and make something work.
It's always been 2-stop in the past, and it's been a very manageable 2-stop where if you save fuel, you can open up the window pretty well. So. Well, you always see in the race, like you can make a strategy, but it can always change up. So we didn't know, but I think everyone's going for a 2-stop, yeah. And we'll have to see what the tires do. It's gonna be pretty hot this weekend.
I think that's pretty much what it's gonna be. It's a shame because if you would have given us a little bit more laps or less laps, it would be tougher to either make it 2 stops or it would open the opportunity to do 3 stops. But we're in that area in between where everybody can make it quite easy on a 2-stop, and it doesn't make sense to go to a 3-stop. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we see half of the grid going 3 or 4 stops on Sunday.
4?
And I don't know. Yeah, you never know, right? It's IndyCar. So, but no. As if you look at the numbers and previous races, it should be a 2-stop for everybody.
Good stuff. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
It's a 2-stop window. Unless yellows start falling, then it can switch around the strategies. But I just don't see it happening. You know, maybe if there's 1 or 2 yellows, track position has turned into such an important thing in IndyCar, just because you can't pass. You just can't pass much unless you have a big tire advantage or fuel advantage, or the guy doesn't have push to pass and you do. you need those factors to come into play to actually make a pass. But if you're on the same as the guy in front of you, you're staying there.
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, with these races now, I mean, I would have never thought that Rahal would have finished 8th in Road America, and those guys made that strategy work. You know what I mean? So anything can happen. It just depends on the yellows and how how things play out.
2-stop race.
Man, I haven't even looked into the. I don't even know how many laps there is. Yeah,
80.
So 80. Yeah, that's a couple of meetings ahead than we are now. So we'll go to practice first, make sure the car's fast, and then I'm sure there's a lot of people on our team looking at that right now.
So that is day 1 here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It's about to rain, so all of the rubber that they put down today is probably going to be all gone by tomorrow for qualifying. But as usual, we'll have all of the reports on what happened tomorrow in qualifying. And of course, stay tuned for that silly season video. I think it's really, really interesting and really, really good. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I will see you in the next video.